The Battle of Britain is over. Victory is at hand. And here at Bletchley Park, they're serving tea and crumpets in the dining hall. But the soldiers gathered around the table aren't celebrating. They are listening intently as a colleague holds up a piece of paper on which strange letters and symbols are written. This is no ordinary note. It's a top-secret message that the British government has just received from the Germans. And what it says will shock the world. In 1942, the German military thought they had invented a machine that was completely unbreakable. A device called Enigma, which could create 151 billion different cipher settings every single day. This made it virtually impossible for Allied forces to decode German communications. And Germany's enemies were left in the dark about everything from troop movements to invasion plans, to the development of deadly weapons like the V2 rocket, which would go on to terrorize London. Enigma had become such a potent symbol of German superiority that Hitler himself called it our strongest weapon after the battleships Scharnhorst and Gneisenau. But that all changed when a team of codebreakers at Bletchley Park, led by a brilliant mathematician named Alan Turing, found a way to crack Enigma's codes. And if they can keep it secret, this discovery will help shorten the war and change the course of human history forever. Welcome to my channel. Now imagine yourself in the shoes of the average person in 1940. The Germans are flying their planes over London, dropping bombs, killing hundreds of civilians. Each day seems like the last, as the British desperately try to defend themselves against these vicious attacks, along with the threat of a full-scale Nazi invasion looming in the distance. Your job is to protect your country. So where do you turn? Well, first, you probably contact the Air Ministry, the Admiralty, or the War Office to report the danger and hope that someone will come to rescue you. You might try to protect yourself by sheltering in one of those underground tube stations, eating some bland emergency rations, listening to the comforting voice of Winston Churchill on the radio, trying to keep up the home front. In short, you would do anything you could to try to stay alive until the war was over. Just one problem, though. None of those things would be much use because there was nothing anyone could do to stop the Germans, right? I mean, unless, of course, someone could invent time travel and go back in time to tell everyone about this really important guy named Alan Turing. But don't worry, because that's what we're doing. Alan Matheson Turing was born on June 23, 1912, in London. From an early age, he showed signs of being a mathematical prodigy, developing an interest in logic and cryptography before he even started primary school. Unfortunately, by the time he was 13, he was already displaying some serious symptoms of schizophrenia, a fact that would dog him throughout his life and ultimately result in a tragic end. Despite his condition, he still managed to earn a scholarship to Cambridge University, where he studied mathematics. And during his final exams, he met fellow student and future wife, Joan Clark. A few years later, both graduated with honors and went on to work together at Bletchley Park, the top-secret headquarters of Britain's Code and Cipher School. For most people, this would be a dream job. But unfortunately, when Turing arrived in 1938, he was instead given the least interesting work, deciphering diplomatic messages from countries like Poland and Japan. However, as soon as World War II broke out and the Germans began using Enigma machines to encrypt their communications, he saw his opportunity. Like everyone else, Turing believed that Enigma was unbreakable, but convinced that it wasn't, he proposed a plan to test its limits. If he were to give the Enigma operators only 3 letters of the alphabet, would they be able to tell what the rest of the message said? Well, to his great surprise, the answer turned out to be yes. The team found that with just 3 letters, they could break any Enigma code in minutes. But this was only the beginning, thanks to a series of lucky coincidences, including the fact that a German soldier had accidentally encrypted a message, using the same setting twice. Turing was able to track down the first Enigma code in February of 1938. By May, he'd already successfully deciphered several messages. So now the British had the upper hand. Right again? No, not quite. because although Turing and his colleagues were making progress, they were still struggling to keep up with the sheer amount of information being sent through the German Enigma network. Messages were coming in so quickly, they couldn't possibly decipher them fast enough to be useful. So Turing did what any logical mathematician would do. He built a machine to help him, and it was unlike anything the world had ever seen before. The bomb was Turing's brainchild, a complex network of rotating wheels and electromagnets designed to find the encryption keys needed to unlock each Enigma message. Although today's viewers will recognize it as one of the earliest examples of a computer, in 1939, it was unlike anything that had come before it. With the power of the bomb, Turing and his team were able to test thousands of Enigma settings in mere minutes, a task that would have taken a human operator hours to complete. Finally, they had a chance of staying one step ahead of the Germans. However, before the bomb could be put into action, it had to be mass-produced, which proved to be yet another challenge. While Britain was prepared for the possibility of war with Germany, it didn't expect fighting to start until 1940 at the earliest. So when France fell in just 6 weeks and Britain found itself under constant attack, the government was forced to scramble for resources. This meant that many of the materials needed to make Turing's bomb, like metal and rubber, were redirected to the war effort, leaving him with very little to work with. Despite this setback, the brilliant mathematician persevered, modifying existing Enigma machines to incorporate his new design. And by August 1940, he had produced the first workable model. Soon after, several hundred more followed. From that point forward, Enigma was never truly safe. And thanks to the efforts of Turing and his colleagues, every coded German communication was eventually broken, whether it was about troop movements, weapon development, or high command strategies. Over the course of the war, Bletchley Park code breakers are estimated to have read nearly 30 million messages, and historians believe that they saved countless lives and shortened the war by up to 2 years. In fact, Winston Churchill himself claimed that without the work done at Bletchley Park, the outcome of the war would have been very doubtful, even after the war ended. The impact of Turing's discoveries continued to be felt as his methods helped usher in the digital age, but when it comes to the man himself, well, sadly, there's a bit of a twist. After the war ended, Turing was arrested for gross indecency after having had a relationship with a man. At the time, this was illegal in the United Kingdom and resulted in a suspended prison sentence or the option to undergo chemical castration. He chose the latter and died of a cyanide poisoning on June 7, 1954. He was just 61 years old. Because of his contributions to the war effort, Prime Minister Winston Churchill called him a great and distinguished member of the team that helped to turn the tide of war. His death was a major loss for the world, and now that the Cold War had begun, others were quick to pick up the mantle. One of the most famous of these individuals was Bill Friedman, who headed the American effort to break the German naval code. According to one account, he once said to a colleague, "We owe it to the dead and wounded to do everything we can to win the war." And so he did, working long and hard to ensure that America would triumph over fascism. Do you know what else would have been drastically different without the work of these brilliant code breakers? The whole course of the Cold War. And you can learn more about that through additional resources. So click the link below and get started today. Now it's time for you to continue the story. Go ahead and leave a comment with your ideas for how things might have played out if the Allies hadn't broken the Enigma code. And hey, while you're at it, be sure to hit subscribe for more untold stories of the past that have shaped our world. For my team and I, this has been a production. And until next time, stay curious.